Someone's asked me, why isn't Feather's Tale promoted on Twitter, and why do you not accept Bitcoin? I have a Twitter account, but I've only used it like 3 times. I'm completely a Twitter virgin, if you like. I don't know anything about Twitter. I don't understand it fully. And I just can't manage that many social media outlets and Feather's Tale at the same time. It's too much. Bitcoin, I am going to start accepting in the next few months because I think it's an amazing way to pull away from that. As everybody knows, I speak about the central banking system which prints the money. It doesn't have to be the only way. And for those who don't know, Bitcoin's an alternative currency on the planet which does not give value to those central banks, which are in every country bar 3 on the planet at the moment. So, okay. Is there this question? I love this question. I love it because a few days ago I was talking about it with Fritzy, and it was one of the first comments I read, and it was, is there a relationship between the philosophy of prayer and the law of attraction? And the answer, in simple terms, is of course, yes, absolutely. Now, a lot of people, my Facebook's blooping, a lot of people might ask, what is the law of attraction? So the law of attraction is the idea that that which you speak, think and feel is that which you attract into your existence. Not necessarily immediately speaking, but certainly you'll attract the next thought train to lead you to that which you're thinking about. Or you can even attract the experience, the event which will lead you to what you need to go towards to fulfill that want inside you, which is what a prayer is. So a lot of people think praying is sitting doing this, but the only way I see use in a prayer like the Lord's Prayer is as a mantra to shut off your carnal mind. It's written in Christianity that the carnal mind is not subject to the law of God, so why pray to God with the carnal mind when it's not subject to him? It's just the only reason for such prayers can be a mantra to get the carnal mind out of the way, so you can pray with your internal energies. You can pray with your emotions. You can pray from something meaningful and deep within you. And the law of attraction and prayer work in exactly the same way. It's exactly the same thing, just one is written in a language, predominantly on the planet is written in a language which is much more ancient and romantic than the modern day teachings of the law of attraction. And if you're curious about the law of attraction, there's a very mainstream book called The Secret. I know lots of people have read this book, and I've read it when my view started changing on the world. It was something I did read. And it's a powerful book. If your mind, if you're already quite into meditation and stuff, then it's not that. It's kind of like a beginner's guide to shifting your mindset into a more positive way of thinking. And it's worded in a very good way for the average Western person inside society who can't believe in prayer, who hasn't got the faith in prayer. So they can look at it in another way. They can have faith in a universal law which they deem as the law of attraction. So they not only have a relationship, they are one in the same, is how I see that. But amazing question. I love that question because, as I say, Fritzy and I were just talking about it a few days before you asked. So there's another I've just read, how does someone volunteer at Feather's Tale? I've tried a few times. I'm changing the application process for everyone who's asking about volunteering because, as I say, I can't just accept anybody. The best volunteers are those that are prepared and have thought through what you can do to help a developing country. In July, I had volunteers who came and did our Tansy Pads project, which was the washable sanitary pads, which I thought up for children, for girls who I was sending to school with taking time off, because when they have a period, they have nothing to stem or to stop the bleed, or to stop the bleeding, basically, to stem the bleeding, however you would word it. And they were taking a week off school. And of course that enforces the myth that schoolgirls are not as that girls do not learn as well as boys. Unfortunately, in developing countries, sometimes that's believed. But of course, when they're at school 25% less, sometimes their grades are worse. So they came and they'd had 1 year's preparation of private research and study. And then they contacted me and said, I've seen you're doing this. Our research and study is very similar. They came and they educated thousands of children on washable sanitary pads. We handed out thousands of pads to 20 schools. And they handed out instructions on how to manufacture the pads. When they left, they had contacted an NGO in Belgium who helped us financially, and I opened a vocational training centre. That was for volunteers, and we still have that vocational training centre which manufactures the pads and educates children. That's for well-prepared volunteers, you know, and this is what we need, because coming to a developing country as a volunteer, sometimes it takes a long time to settle in before you can have a positive impact. It takes a long time. So coming for a month, you're not going to get that. If you're going to do it that way, you need to pay for a translator, you need to pay for security, you need to pay for the project, and you need to think up a project that you can bring to help the community before you get there. So I'll change the application process for everybody asking about volunteering. It needs changing, and I will change it, and I will speak to everybody who's asked on a one-on-one basis if possible, or at least go through the applications with people and find out what they can bring to Featherstail and find out whether they're suitable or we'll accept them to come over. So okay. Oh, I've got a comment from someone called Mary Jane. Inventive name. Why is it yourself, Russell Brand, and others? Others is not specified as to who others are. With a spiritual personality, usually have Jesus-like hair. Is this related to a complex? So I feel this might be a troll comment. Without any doubt, it's a troll comment. So I always say to people who ask why I have long hair, is why do you cut your hair? I don't ask my hair to grow. Why are you interfering with the natural system of your body, which makes your hair grow, makes your body grow, makes your heart beat? What made you interfere with that natural system is always my return question for people who ask me why I have long hair. But as far as I know, most spiritual personalities don't have long hair, so I think that's a troll comment, to be honest. But fair play. Russell Brand and myself do seem to get put in the same bag a lot, considering my videos of 2015. Oh god. Okay. Do I have any recollection of past lives? No, I don't. I don't have any recollections of past lives. I've had experiences and visions which I presume could be something to do with past lives. And I've never gone through a proper regression, but I could go through a regression because I actually am friends with one of the world's best past lives regressionists, but I'd need to be with her one-on-one to do it, I believe. So. Ooh, that... Okay, so someone called Art Life has left me a very interesting comment. I'd love to great to see what kind of food is prepared at Featherstail. Who is cooking? So, okay. I'll do a separate video on that when I get back to Tanzania, because we do have a targeted nutrition regime for all of the children, depending what's happening with them. So some eat differently to others. All of them have recovered from kwashiorkor now. So now it's just predominantly like Dominic's diet's very tweaked, and because he has HIV. And regarding cooking, we do have a lady who cooks, but we all take it in turns anyway because there's so much to do. But there's someone who defines herself as the cook. But I'll do a separate video on that. Good question. So everybody's vegan, by the way, except if staff want to eat fish. They have little fish. They can do so if they wish, but the children are not allowed it because it doesn't fit in with their nutrition regime, and those little fish, even if they were to eat meat, is the worst possible meat on the planet. I think it's horrible, called digar. It's cheap protein source. So. John, 99% of all charities in the world are corrupt to the bone. For a lot of us, you are the only person we can trust to spend our spare money and gifts morally and intellectually. My question is, how can we best bring more awareness to you as a person and your cause? Let's see if we can bring that tiny 8,000 subs to 1 million. That would be quite beneficial for Feather's Tail if I had 1 million subs, I think. But the best way, I find the most powerful way to spread the word is social media. Sharing the videos, sharing the stories that I put on Facebook, the appeals for help. And of course, when you're out and about talking to your friends, I've had children sponsored who are now in school, full-time education due to conversation. Friends have had it at a restaurant and stuff where they've come having to have a look and have then sponsored a child too. So that's probably the best way, is just to thump it around on social media, I think. I can't see any other way to do it. Someone asked me about dropping leaflets and stuff, and you know, I very much believe in the power of prayer, the law of attraction as well, and that which I ask for I get. So the right people up to now have found us, and the children as and when we've needed it. So when we've called for help, the help has arrived each and every time. So I'm confident for now we're doing okay, but it would be great to have that many subs, because YouTube could probably pay for all the work by itself then off the ad revenue. Maybe one day, let's hope, and then we can build schools and hospitals then, let's put it that way. Aurora Sky, hey, this doesn't really meet your criteria, but any advice on dealing with addiction, please? Yes, absolutely. Depending upon your addiction, my number one piece of advice for anyone dealing with addiction, whether it's cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, whatever, even if it's just habitual addiction where your mind has got the habit of doing something, you're not physically addicted to a drug or a substance, is to Google Dr. Shelton and water fasting. Get his books, read about his work, and the 60,000+ people he fasted and healed from various things, including the big nasties like cancer. But he also fasted people with addictions, and he healed addictions. And there's a German fasting doctor who's alive today, but he's a dry fasting doctor, a little more extreme, called Dr. Filinov. His book is badly translated into English, but you can get a copy of that. And that would be my tip to everybody. And I don't just say that blindly. I was addicted to cigarettes and certain other bad habits, and I used to smoke marijuana and stuff and drink alcohol. And it was fasting. Cigarettes was the notable one, because I wasn't exactly drinking alcohol a lot, etc. But cigarettes was a daily addiction. And I fasted for 14 days on water the first time, and on the 9th day my body rejected cigarettes. And on the 11th day, the idea that I'd smoke cigarettes was kind of amusing to me. I didn't understand why I had. And it was a very peculiar experience for me. But it's true that when you're fasting, your body can reset the circuitry in your brain. Your mind works like a computer program sometimes. And if you've got the same program that you've imprinted in there of like picking up a cigarette, etc., then fasting can get rid of that and wipe it clean. So Shelton's work, check it out for sure. That would be my advice to you. I wonder what kind of experiences you've had while meditating. You hear all crazy stuff that people have experienced when you start to Google and research on these subjects. Since I feel you are one of the more grounded spiritual people I've come across, I'd be inclined to believe your stories. Meditation. People on the internet who are meditating and saying, oh, I saw a dragon, I saw a wizard, and whatever else. Just, if you see them, switch them off. Don't listen to them. Meditation is not about tripping out and going into some magical fairy tale land. It's not about that. It's not what it's for. It's new age mumbo jumbo. And what's going on with these people? They are basically allowing their carnal mind to entertain their spiritual want, and then they start creating stories. Humans are, what's the word? Humans are big liars. Let's put it that way. I don't know, compulsive? Is that the word I was looking for? Hold on, 1 second. My laptop. My laptop was going to die. Humans tell a lot of lies. This is just how it is. This is part of the nature of humans. A lot of us tell a lot of lies. I've watched studies on this stuff, and you can see some good TED Talks on it, actually, if you're interested in those. And they, as I say, people, oh God, people lie. And it's no different in the spiritual world. People who are meditating and saying, you know, some dragon came and gave them advice, just don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. It's because they believe they're supposed to see this and they're not seeing it, so they're like saying they do. I've had yogis and stuff like this on the planet tell me stuff like this, and I just know when they do, my mind goes, okay, let's just not listen to this. Now, I'm not saying you can't use meditation to have contact with something on a deeper level or a spiritual level. But what I'm saying is the goal of meditation is not to go and meet a giant in a cloud or stuff like this, you know, it's just not what it's about. Or to go and, you know, ride a unicorn or whatever else. This stuff I see is bizarre, so that person I know I've seen this too. Meditation is the best way to do it if you draw yourself 3 circles, and the middle circle is stillness, silence, thoughtlessness. Outside of there, you have your emotions, so your emotion range. Outside of there is thinking and imagery. So thinking and imagery obviously is just the carnal mind, and this is where these people are coming from. Of course, we do have God experiences sometimes when meditating. We have universal experiences, and we have eureka moments and light bulb moments, and you have beautiful things. I myself, as I've told many people, I've spoken with, I tell people I work with angels. I've spoken with angels. Angels brought me to what I do. And as I always say to every skeptic, well, if I hadn't listened to them, there'd be nearly 500 children who don't have full-time education. So I have to stand by that I've spoken to angels. Now, you could say that angels are your higher self communicating a deeper part of yourself. I don't know what you want to call them, but in science, I've said to people it's a photon, and a photon is a particle which carries information and travels on an angle of light, and an angel is a messenger of light, so they're both the same pretty much, you know. So yeah, meditation is about getting still, getting quiet, getting centered, getting peaceful, so you can come into the present moment and say, okay, what needs doing? What do I want to do? Most of us have dreams and goals, and we completely procrastinate from doing them because of this. This tells us to do something different, and tells us, and you know, I'll watch the TV instead, I'll go to the pub instead, and you never get anywhere in life. You're always just because of this. But if you get into the middle, then you can start living your life using your senses, your intuition, your using that which is the pineal, which is your sense of direction. You can tap into that instead. So, good question. For me, don't dismiss all persons meditating. You know, as I say, people can talk to other sides, talk to angels, etc., etc. But if people are promoting meditation where they're like, oh, I was floating away, you know, I saw a troll talking to a unicorn, switch them off. Don't listen to them. And I'll challenge any person who speaks like that about meditation. I always do. Okay. What are your top 5 reasons you believe in God? Peacemaker said that. I don't believe in God, Peacemaker. I know God, to steal very similar words to Carl Jung. I don't believe in God. You're watching me on this camera. You don't need to believe that you're watching me. You don't need to believe that I did this video. You know I did. My experience with God is that close that I now know there is God. I now know that God has helped me to do all I do. And the thing is, and this is the major problem everybody has, if God is the creator of existence, it is like a cake maker being the creator of a cake. The cake maker is not inside the cake, so the creator of existence will not exist within existence, because this is existence, and if something creates it, sure, you're going to find its fingerprints. You're going to find little hints that it's been there, which we do find inside ourselves. But you're not going to find him sitting behind a rock or her sitting behind a rock. I always say him for God, just society punched it into me. But it's not the case, as all scriptures tell you. It's androgynous, masculine, feminine. So I don't believe in God. I know God. So, okay. So I don't believe in God. I know God at this stage in my life. So. Do you try to raise the children vegan? I understand it might be difficult. We do raise them vegan, so that answers that. Just some random dude is the name of the person. Did you ever consider asking for sponsors for yourself and staff on your website? I've actually had staff paid for by donations before. Someone donated enough money to hire a Hafsa, member of staff. The rest we do. I have now nearly 500 children in the fund, and those persons sometimes, those sponsors make the odd separate donation, so our running costs are covered for now. I myself have begun looking at what I have to do for my future. I will never take a salary, but of course I do start to need looking at things like my permits and stuff like that in Tanzania. But I don't know if asking for sponsors for myself or for someone else is going to be a good route to go. And that was the 11th comment you said. So but no, I haven't thought about it seriously. So. Kazi says, you have mentioned numerology, your life path numbers, etc. Where can I get authentic information regarding this? Go to Hans D. Koz's website. He's one of the world's best numerologists, hansdkoz.com. All the rest is, a lot of it's fluffy nonsense. If you look around, there's a lot of stupid numerology. Pythagorean numerology is numerology. All the other stuff's just twisted from there. He's the founder of the word, ultimately, and I mean, without Pythagoras, you wouldn't be listening to me now. So he's worth listening to. How did you manage your transition to raw veganism? So I'm not raw. Just to clear that up. I used to be raw for a year, but I stopped doing it because it's just not practical in the planet. You can't live in East Africa as a raw vegan. It's not physically possible. You couldn't go and stay with the Maasai because you need food you can transport that's not going to spoil, and fruit does. And also fruit in Africa attracts wildlife, and you don't want that, especially little wildlife, which is very annoying. So I'm not raw, but dealing with cooked food cravings for me is, well, what are you craving? It depends what you're craving. If you're craving things like sweet potatoes, eat them. They're just as healthy. It's arguable that humans evolved by digging up starch based on modern science. This hunter-gatherer thing's being pretty abolished now. You check dental records, most Neolithic cave people were eating starch, and it makes sense. Humans were the only ones with the brain to look where the starch was, dig it up and cook it, which is again making sense because we have a large brain and the brain runs on glucose. So we have dense calorie source that no other animal on the planet has access to. Whereas having meat as a calorie source is arguable that it still doesn't make a lot of sense. The only reason we said that is we could see the tools when we were digging and stuff. So yeah, it depends on your cravings. If it's junk food cravings, then it's just because they're toxic and they're addictive and they're spilling out your body when you're raw. So you get cravings for stuff. When you water fast, for example, you'll crave stuff you've never eaten in years, like cheeseburgers and stuff, just because your body's cleansing all the crap out of yourself. So.